Short of a tornado or hurricane taking your house away or an EMP taking down the grid, there are many reasons why you should have a certain level of preparedness. Now, this video is not about hoarding toilet paper or installing solar panels on your roof, but it is about methods using Apple hardware and software to be ready for just about anything. Hey there, if you're new to this channel, my name is Brandon Meaves, and today I will be covering 7 strategies that can help you through countless sticky situations with the technology already in your pocket. If you enjoy videos around all things Apple, gear, and living the good life, consider subscribing and let's get into it. Notes app. The fact is, there's a lot of ways you gotta retain knowledge, and the Notes app is one of my favorite ways to do that and the app I use most often. I have it on my Mac, my iPad, my phone, and I have everything in there. On the preparedness side, I'll have notes on my gas generator. When was the last time I did an oil change? Is there any tips and tricks I need for running it or cleaning the carb? I'll also have the manual for that. Same thing with my solar generators, maybe from Ecoflow. Info on my solar panels, which are the high wattage ones, which are the low ones, which one can I use in parallel or series. All that stuff that you may just kind of forget if time went on, and you may not be able to get onto a website or find more info on a forum, but you'll want it when the time arises. So I make sure all of that is in my Notes app. You may want to put in there of how to store seeds, how to can food, prune your apple trees, sanitize water. There's just a ton of information that is really helpful to have on your Notes app. And there's a lot of great things you can do inside the Notes app as well. You can share the notes with your loved ones. You can categorize them in the folders. You can tag them. And this is just going to make finding them, searching them that much easier. I must note that most of what I just mentioned for notes, you can do in iCloud. So you can store your manuals as PDFs. You can sync the files to your device so they're always downloaded. And if you don't have internet, that's fine. They're on your device, your phone, your iPad. And you can keep Word docs and Excel files. And whether using Microsoft's or Apple software, those both are going to get the job done. Or even something like Google Drive. They have a lot of great ways of storing files, taking notes, sharing. Find with what works for you and then just stick to a system and use it. Keep everything in a central place. As for myself, I've slowly moved away from having separate working files for everything and instead do most of what I need in the Apple's Notes app. So for PDF, I can embed that in a note and I can add notes around it to give it context, make it easier to search. I can use my Apple Pencil to annotate it, and a lot of other features that just make storing things that much easier. I can also put in bulleted lists, I can add tables. So a lot of the things that you traditionally do in other apps, you can also do in Notes. And I should note, if you have something with sensitive information in it, you can password protect that note or use Face ID to make sure that you're the only one that can get in. Contacts. Now this app has zero appeal to most people, but hear me out. You keep the phone numbers of local emergency services, your kid's school, area hospitals, the pharmacy, the pet shelter in case you lose Frodo. If a cyber attack happens and you have a cellular connection, but the website hosting companies are down, you're going to be very happy that you had these phone numbers. And, this is just good practice. I also keep contractors in there as well. So heating, plumbing, electrical, someone replace a busted window or a front door. Emergency or not, you're going to thank yourself later if you set this all up. Maps. If your internet connection is down, there is still hope to use your maps. On the Maps app, you can download offline versions of maps by selecting an area and saving it to your phone. I'll often do this for northern areas of Wisconsin where I know I'm going to have bad reception while I'm camping or doing something else. And so even without internet, that GPS chip on your phone is going to be able to locate you via satellites and be able to use that mapping functionality. Passwords. I no longer know any of my passwords, or at least 99% of them. Yes, there is some uneasiness with that statement, but at the end of the day, I know that my data is most secure this way, as I have hundreds of accounts online, and eventually you're going to need to share passwords between them or have some system that someone's going to be able to figure out. So everything goes in the Passwords app, and that's been working great for me for a number of years. This is to ensure that services, accounts, access to money and more, it's all a few taps away. And I'm not beholden to some customer service that needs to reset it or be at the mercy of the phone lines when an emergency strikes. I don't want to deal with the hassle of resetting or a forgotten password. keep everything in the app, and you'll be golden. HomeKit. On my house, I have the Logitech Circle cameras and their doorbell camera, and I love both. The camera has infrared for night vision and a nice little red light at the top to tell visitors, hey, you're being watched. If you have iCloud Plus, you can record 10 days of activity from one to many cameras. So if you have their 50 gigabyte plan, you can get a single camera. With the 200 gigabyte plan, you get 5 cameras. And then with their 2 terabyte plan, which I have, or larger, you can have an unlimited amount of cameras. And the great thing is that none of this footage from the cameras goes against your storage limit. You can set activity zones. So if you just want to see a certain area of the picture that you want to be capturing or taking activity, you can do that. You can have it set alerts to you based on things for vehicles, deliveries, people. You can get notifications based on certain people that you've already tagged. And all of this is encrypted and saved to the iCloud. On this topic, I would tread carefully. There are lots of great camera options out there and related services, and many come at higher prices. But there's some that are free and a little bit more DIY as well. You just got to be aware of the subscriptions. If you're already paying for something like iCloud Plus, that's a subscription. You're getting storage and other benefits out of that. I wouldn't buy a camera that doesn't work with HomeKit that is also requiring you to get another subscription because, it's just another drain on your wallet. Lastly, in HomeKit, you can control different scenes, your outlets, lights, or any other automations. So if you want to ensure your garage door is shut when you leave the premise or that your doors are locked, you can use your imagination, but with the level of control you can now have on your household with that app, there's no bounds to, what you can do with that capability. And if you have a second house or a cabin that's far up north, this also becomes a lifesaver. Other apps. So there's a lot of other apps that you can use for emergencies, and I'm just going to go through a few to spark some ideas. So there is FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So if you've been affected by a disaster, this app can be used to apply for help, find an emergency shelter, get alerts for your local area such as weather, evacuations, radiological hazards, or if there's shelter-in-place warnings, and much more. You can also get basic info such as what to do in a power outage, safety with your gas generator and carbon monoxide poisoning, cleaning up mold after a flood, and much more. And I've tested the app. If you turn off the internet, the articles have still worked. Maybe some of the photos do not, but if you don't have an internet connection, it is real handy to be able to get to resources such as those. I've also got a police scanner app, and that's pretty much what it says, right? If I hear a lot of sirens going off from the police or fire department, I'll usually log on that app to see what's going on around in my area. So, if you know what's hitting the fan, it's nice to have that app just to have a little bit more insight about what's going on around you. As far as weather apps, I'd say the stock Apple app for weather has made significant strides in the past years. And I use it for, all alerts on inclement weather, when storms are happening, rain, how much snow we're getting. So as long as you have something in that realm, you'll be covered. And I will say with a lot of these, they have a watch equivalent. So if you want alerts on your watch or have some extra features or a little bit more mobility, get that app on your watch as well, just for a little bit more use cases. Also, a tip is don't forget about the apps that come with some of your devices. So for example, I have a Honda generator, and because it has Bluetooth, I can see the fuel level, the oil life, RPMs of my machine based on how much stuff is running, or I can even remotely kill the engine. This is the same on my Ecoflow units. I can see the power levels, the solar input, how much power is going out, shut devices off. So it's really handy just to be able to sit in your living room or in a warm location and control everything, or kind of see what's going on with your technology or your generators or whatever. But yeah, look at things you have around the house that you need, and do they have corresponding apps that would be real useful in certain situations. The compass app may be a no-brainer, especially for us Eagle Scouts, but if you need your coordinates or you need to know where north is, your phone has a built-in compass. And this brings up a really good point. If you aren't able to get to online maps, within your app, it is great to have printed versions on hand for areas that you would frequent. If you could learn some orienteering skills, that's going to make using that compass on your phone a lot easier if you need to, figure out where you're going from your location. OnX Hunt is another one. OnX also makes some, off-roading apps and others as well. But if you have to hunt for your food in an emergency, that one can help you with, nationwide land ownership maps. So what's public, what's private. You get elevation maps. You see, natural food areas, and there's weather forecasting and other things that, show you what is the best time to hunt for white-tailed deer. So I use this app all the time, actually, when I'm bow hunting out in the wilderness, but another great thing to have during an emergency. Let's not forget books. We talked about having helpful PDFs for your equipment or how to prune apple trees, in your notes app. But there are hundreds, thousands of books on preparedness, and you dream it and there's a book on it. Whether you want to build a shelter or preserve food or anything, buy it, download it, make sure it's on your device, read it ahead of time if you can, but then that resource is there when the time comes, which is awesome. And lastly, just round out where you feel there are gaps. Again, your financial institutions, medical, insurance, they can all be very important. Maybe you need games to help pass the time, something for the family, the kids. Maybe you want to have a journaling app, just kind of take a log of what's happening. Think through it, think what would be useful for you, and download it. Make sure you have it. And that's my list for today. Let me know in the comments if I missed any good ideas. We want to share those with the community. Subscribe if you like this content, and we'll see you on the next one.